Okay, so we've done the general themes of the Najdorf, this lazy Najdorf, and now we're going to sort of try to cover you for all the theory. We're not going to go into depths and depths of theory because this is not what this DVD is about. It is a lazy guide to learning the Najdorf. So, you know, I want you to be able to learn this very quickly, very easily. And I'm playing the Stooge again, so I'm playing the white side. And Danny, you're the expert, is that right?
Yeah, it's interesting actually you say lazy guy. God knows what Gary Kasparov would think of us, you know.
Well, do you reckon he'd be watching this? I don't reckon.
I'm sure he's ordered a copy already. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean, you know, I think most people are going to buy this. I mean, I think this will have use for even title players because I've learned quite a lot from the ideas and themes. So it's a very wide ranging DVD. But I think most people learn this. They've probably got lives away from chess. You know,
No, I don't
you
know.
don't think so? You think
you can't have a life away from chess.
you think they're just chess? They do
chess,
10 hours a
you've got
day.
chess.com, you've got ChessBase, you've got Chess Bomb. I mean, how can you possibly have a life outside of chess?
Yeah, well, I hope some of them do. And the point is, like, you know, if you do have a job and you've only got like an hour a week to learn an opening, this is kind of what this DVD's aimed at.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're trying to make it simple.
Actually, you know, the funny thing is, when I prepare for games, Simon, often it
Yeah.
doesn't take me that long because,
You're lazy.
well, not just that. It's just because sometimes you can just find a line that's not very well known, which is exactly the line we're going to show you the viewers now.
Sure.
And you know, you don't need to spend hours
Learning theory.
on that particular line. You know, as long as you've got the basic ideas.
So that's what we're going to do now. I mean, Danny has found, he's played the Najdorf all his life. That's pretty much right, isn't it, Danny? So
Absolutely,
you know,
yeah.
it's got you to Grandmaster strength. So you know it very well. And you've picked some lines particularly that are easy for the viewer to learn. So they don't,
That's
you know,
right, yeah.
so we're avoiding stuff like the poison pawn variation where you have to learn 30, 40 moves of theory because who the hell wants to do that, you know, nowadays? But the top players maybe. But
Well, it varies,
you know,
Simon. I mean, to be honest with
Yeah.
you, some of the lines are, you know, fairly theoretical, but
Sure.
it all depends on the particular variation we're looking at.
Okay, but I mean, I guess when they have to be theoretical, they have to be. So you have to give. You
Yeah,
know,
get your chest base out for the lads, you know.
Dear, oh dear. Okay, so the first line we're going to look at, and I think our idea is to start with the sharpest stuff first, because a lot of the quieter lines we've seen. So let me just put some moves on the board.
Sure.
A lot of the quieter lines that we get basically are not so worrying. I mean, it's more about general ideas. But after A6, for example, Bishop E2 is a quieter line. You're not going to get in quick trouble. You're not going to get mated very quickly with this. But lines like Bishop G5, and this is what we're starting to look at, is the sharpest, incredibly dangerous line where if you don't know what you're doing, you can get absolutely destroyed.
I
Is that
should just
correct?
give you a story, Simon.
Yeah.
Maybe I talked about it earlier in the video, I'm not sure, but I was playing Deep Semgutta at Hastings, and this is going back a few months ago.
So like some computer,
Yeah.
deep mind, or
It's a sort of the love child of Deep Blue, and
yes,
it's an Indian grandmaster.
Yeah.
And we were playing the final round of Hastings. Now it's obviously a key game to try and win the tournament. We're both like close. I think we were half point behind, but if either of us won, we'd be like joint champions. And basically, I prepared for him, and I expected him to play. He always seemed to play quietly against the Neudorf.
so he played Bishop E2 or something like this.
Yeah,
One of the
exactly.
quiet
Bishop
lines.
E2. He was always playing some sort of quiet sideline. But against me, very confidently played the move Bishop G5.
Bang.
And Bishop G5 completely changes the landscape of the opening, because suddenly we're getting a very aggressive, very theoretical line.
We haven't looked at this move yet either, have we? In the general ideas.
Not in great detail. no.
I mean, we're obviously going to do that now, but
Sure.
Bishop G5 is an attempt to kill black quickly. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, generally speaking, White just goes all in. He throws all his pieces at the Black King.
So what does White
goes
do
for
here?
sacrifices.
So what's White's plan generally here, and then we have a look at Black's
Yeah,
plan.
so White's plan is generally to go F4,
Yep.
Queen F3, you castle queenside, and then you go G4. You might take on F6, go G5, and basically just hack away.
Right.
You know,
So you push
G5,
pawns,
F5, and just
maybe
really
E5,
try and
F5.
steamroll the black, basically.
Right. So it is dangerous.
It's very dangerous. I mean, I have a really bad score with Bishop G5, and I think the reason I have the worst score maybe against Bishop G5 than any other variation in Neudorf is because it's so theoretical, and you have to be. You can't just play any old rubbish. You have to be very well prepared, and that is probably my weakness in that I'm not spending hours looking at the theory.
Yeah,
I think this particular line you do have to know the specific moves.
Right. So this is good to start with the sharpest stuff. I'd say.
Sure.
So what is your recommendation here? I don't know if you want to use the mouse or you're happy me doing it. You can call out.
Yeah. I mean, we can carry on, but I mean, generally speaking, black plays e6 here. Now,
so this is the main move.
This is the main move. I've got no objection to the viewer playing the line with e6.
That's good to hear.
Which is the main line.
So you won't slap them.
No, but the point is, I'm going to recommend in this, which I was only looking at actually a few days ago, and seemed very interesting to me. I'm going to recommend the move knight bd7.
Okay, so knight bd7. So why are you recommending this one then?
Well, I think it's just a good way of avoiding like reams and reams of theory, and it seems to be a fairly reasonable move.
So it fits in with our lazy guide.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's been played by top players. Grishchuk's playing it here, as we see. And with this idea, well, we kind of know what White's going to do now.
Sure.
White's going to start, launching in most lines. There's lots. We're going to look at other variations, but what's Black aiming to do in this position?
Well, I think he just wants simple development. He wants simple and quick development with g6 and bishop g7.
So kind of getting like a Dragdorf kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know this was recommended to me when I was trying to learn the Najdorf by French Grandmaster Livet René, who was my captain. He was also second to Karpov in '88 in the Seville World Championship match. He recommended this setup, trying to go g6 and bishop g7. So this is the idea: g6, bishop g7, and then later on, you have to be a bit careful going b5 because the knight c6. But is b5 on the cards?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, I think the advantage of this line is when you go e6, White always goes for this f4, g4 stuff.
Yeah.
And then eventually he's going to go f5. And really, but against g6, I think this steamroller plan is going to be less effective.
Right.
Because
when he plays f5, if he's taking on e6, then this is quite scary.
Yeah, you don't exactly with a knight on d4. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's not
I like it. Okay.
So it's not as powerful a plan. But now White can change
plans.
He can change plans.
So just looking at the notes here that we've got, basically there's a couple of plans, and White's in this name game, which we'll look at first, play Queen e2. But just before we move on, what other moves? Well, obviously f4 is critical because this is what White is going to play normally anyway.
I think that's possibly the most aggressive way to play against this line. And just carry on with your... Because I think if you're playing a lot of amateur players as well... at sort of club level.
They play f4.
They go f4 because they know that f4 is their plan. So f4 looks very natural.
And bishop c4 is also playable as well.
But this is probably the main line, actually, bishop c4, funny enough. But
but let's start, we'll have a look at the main game, and queen e2. So what's the point of queen e2? Is it just to castle and line the queen up against the king in some way?
I think so. And also, of course, you still have this plan of going f4 and e5.
f4, e5, trying to just go bang in the middle.
Okay.
So let's have a look. So how did Grishchuk play this, Danny? He played a simple move here,
I mean, he could have played g6 here, actually.
So
g6, just carry on with the same
and if
plan.
f4?
And then we go in this position...
Be a bit careful of e5, don't we?
Can we not go...
Queen c7?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Queen to try and control this square. Always watch out for e5. And if we can get two more moves in bishop g7 and castle's okay. Let's have a look what Grishchuk plays. So what did he play, Danny, instead?
He played h6.
Okay.
So he's immediately trying to get rid of that dark square bishop, which I think is, I mean, in some ways I like to play like this. When you clarify the game.
Let's just keep it simple, because White hasn't played f4. We're not in as much urgency. We've got time to play h6 because if the ball was on f4, maybe h6 would be too slow because he could take and go e5. But here, after he does take the knight, which seems logical, otherwise, the bishop's going to be offside. We take with our knight. This is another advantage of doing this. And now White castles. It seems totally natural. And
absolutely. So now he probably does have a threat of e5. So for example, you could play e6 here, but then maybe he might think about e5.
And if takes, then there's something nasty like knight.
Absolutely,
it's a killer.
Absolutely. And if you move the knight back, clearly you don't want to play knight d5. Sorry, after e5.
Yeah.
Because he would take and then go take on d6,
Which is just as bad as that.
Which is really bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah,
that could be. Yeah, you think, well, actually, maybe I shouldn't have gone for this knight bd7 plan.
Yeah, if you get this,
yeah.
So you, I mean, always be aware of your opponent's ideas, and e5 is one of the main ideas in this system. So
yeah, because you think, well, White's main advantage in this position is he's going for very rapid development. He's got queen e2, he's castle queen, so he hasn't wasted a single move of development.
Yeah, so you've got to be careful.
So you've got to be careful about your c5, but here Grischuk plays, obviously, again, the very typical move in Najdorf, and it actually makes total sense here, which is to move e5.
It makes a lot of logical sense here, doesn't it? Because White's trying to play that move, let's stop that. And, well, if now this knight goes anywhere passive, let's say b3, Black must be absolutely fine here. I mean, even better. This is a good Najdorf,
I prefer Black here.
Yeah,
Bishop
definitely.
e6.
Bishop e6, and we've got rid of White's dark square bishop, and
which is a very important piece that we discussed before.
Castle, can't we? And this is lovely.
Yeah,
lovely.
Rook c8 will come in at some point, and Black will
with the sack as well. Yeah. So he has to go forward. So he has to play knight f5.
Yeah, I mean now you could even think about taking that, but then I think he would follow up with e takes and then g4, and you've got to be slightly careful. g4, h4 could happen very quickly.
So
I think Black's played a very nice move. Yeah, just went g6,
keeping it simple. The knight comes back to e3, and now just develop. Yeah, how did he do that, Danny?
He played just simple move again, bishop e6.
Bishop e6. So White is trying to gain control of this square, but this will happen quite a lot in the Najdorf. You can just play around it. Yeah,
absolutely. You don't need to panic here. I mean, this is quite similar to a lot of other lines where Black is generally fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that Black. I mean, g3 makes some sense because again, he's going for this possible plan.
Trying to get this in.
Well, also he wants to maybe go h4, bishop h3.
Right. Okay. Sure.
Rook c8 again, another accurate move by Grischuk because now he.
So with bishop g2 here, I'd be very tempted to take this one.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you take and then you go queen a5.
And remember this idea, which Danny pointed out earlier. This is key idea. You know, even though you give up the exchange, so what? You're attacking and you're having all the fun here. This is, I mean, you know, this is nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't mind that.
You'd like a bit of that, would you? So we'll have a look at a couple more moves. We just get to where Black castles.
Yeah.
H5, and this is quite crafty actually because you give the bishop this square and you can go H4, but bishop G2, and the bishop comes to very crafty because. In some lines, you try to get rid of this bishop is often quite bad. Is the dark square bishop bad for Black? You know,
no, I don't think so at all.
It's not. No, it's a good piece.
It's a good piece.
And after this, Rook HD1. What did Black now play here, Danny? Just one more move, I think.
I mean, he could have gone c6. We actually played much more actively, a non-passive move, which was queen a5.
And all of a sudden now, there's again ideas of taking and taking here. There's ideas.
So you could take on d6. So critical here would be taking on d6.
Yeah.
Rook c3. So you can't really take because I'm taking on a2. So maybe you take on e6.
Yeah.
But now you've got to move rook e3.
Right, and this shows another advantage of this. Pawn takes here, and this.
Black is winning the piece
up.
Yeah.
Basically, so yeah.
So yeah, I mean, after queen a5, clearly Black is doing fine.
Absolutely fine.
There's no need to really.
Even if you lose this pawn. It doesn't matter, does it? I mean, it doesn't matter because it's just. I mean, you're going to get an attack going. So I think that's enough of this line.
Yeah. Seems playable for Black. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so we'll just go through the open moves again because we're trying to do the theory section very quickly, and bishop g5 is the move we're concentrating on because it's a very sharp way to develop. Danny's recommending knight bd2. Now, in the main game, we looked at this queen to e2 move, but probably one of the critical moves is.
Should we look at f4? Yeah, I think this is a good idea.
Yeah. So f4. This is very logical.
Transposes to a position you were asking me about earlier. So after g6, queen e2, bishop g7.
Okay.
The question you were asking was why can't White go e5?
Let's have a look. So why can't he go e5 here? This is the move that would scare me. I mean,
I think there's a tactical trick here. I think you take.
Yeah.
And now,
some knight
rather than some horrible knight move where he's squashing you with
you don't want to go back, do you?
No. You actually take on e5, which is quite an important tactical trick.
And if queen takes?
Now knight h5.
And you unleash the bishop towards this guy. That's nice. That's a nice trick. And actually, I'm assuming white is in serious trouble here because.
Well, he could take on e7. I mean, okay, if he moves the queen back, you take on d4, probably with a bishop.
Yeah.
But can he move the queen back to e2? Maybe can he try that? Because queen d4, queen e7 doesn't look very pretty. So bishop d4, you castle.
Bishop d4 castles.
It looks quite scary.
It does look quite scary, doesn't it? It looks a little bit.
Well, hang on. This isn't the end. Bishop e6. We'll try bishop e6.
Bishop e6.
I think we're panicking here. I'm sure this must be okay for. Maybe not.
Queen
e4.
Queen e4.
Right. Okay. Is there any? I'm sure. Okay. There must be a tactical reason.
Well, let's have a look then. So let's go back. So let's just say if f4 is played.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to go g6 in these lines. Queen e2,
yeah.
Bishop g7, and now in the game, castle occurred. But if e5 is played, then we'll just have a look at this one more time. So we take here,
yeah.
Pawn takes, and now.
Oh, hang on, maybe
castle or something even here. We can nearly castle.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking. I mean, it's interesting.
Nah, I think he can take.
I think he can take. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, knight h5 immediately is possible. Maybe.
Just knight h5 here. Yeah.
Maybe.
e6.
Then bishop d4.
Bishop d4, and the king can come to g7. Yeah.
I mean, this is a line you need to check with the computer. I think if you're going to play this at home, you need to check it with the computer. So obviously, we didn't check this c5 line.
Okay.
But clearly, there's a reason.
I think we need to find a solution for the viewers here.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise,
is it worth sticking the engine on side?
We will.
Don't like sticking the engine.
Well, we need to in this position, I think.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that now, and as you can see, we're going to try to get everything solved as we go along. But I mean, do you want to? Not a very good engine. This one. Well, it does. My computer does say we can either take it first and go knight h5. That seems to be the good way to play it.
Right, yeah.
And it reckons after this that black is absolutely fine. So this is the line basically. And if e6 here, then bishop takes d4. It does give as slightly better for black. With pawn takes f7, and here actually, rather than taking on f7,
with a queen c4 check.
Yeah, you go king f8, this is like a common thing we've seen before, putting your king behind the pawn. And obviously, this position is very messy, but my computer is giving this after something like castles, bishop takes c3 as being absolutely fine.
Quite
after h6.
It's quite an interesting line, isn't it?
It's an interesting line, yeah. But this generally it says is better for black. But this is a messy, complex position. I mean, white sacked a piece here. Let's not forget. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if the computer, it might just be a load of rubbish for white.
It's clearly a line that's okay for black.
Yes, clearly. Okay, so that's good to check that one. Okay, so after f4 immediately, we want to play g6 because our idea is to get castled and play dragon.
Sure.
And now in the actual game we're looking at, white decided to castle first. Very logical.
Yeah.
Black castled kingside, and now he played e5.
Sure.
So how did black deal with this now? This is a nice idea actually that black now played, Danny. So
you're taking advantage of the unprotected bishop on g5 after you take on e5.
Yeah.
And then when he takes back.
Yeah.
You play very, very important move, queen a5.
Because this queen is very exposed, and queen a5 is actually something I've seen Najdorf players play in a lot of different sharp lines. You know, this queen a5 can often occur. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, basically, but you're sort of, in a way, you're taking advantage of the fact that you haven't played queen c7 earlier. You've just left the queen on d8. So there's a slight advantage for black in this line.
Yeah. And this looks fine now for black. Black's castled, opposite side castling, very interesting position. Knight f3, white has to retreat to defend this one and defend the bishop. But now black goes knight g4, and black is...
So if you take on e7 here, I mean, I'm very happy I'll go rook e8.
Loads of play here.
I've got loads of play.
I mean, again, you know, well, you're not losing the pawn here. As soon as you take on e5, black's pieces are just swarming.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like a typical play, really. Yeah. You're exploiting that bishop on g7 to really attack white centre. And
a couple more moves we'll just show. I don't think we need to show much.
Yeah, we don't need to go heavily into it.
I mean, these, by the way, these games are top grandmaster games. So these are like, you know, we're not just showing, you know, me versus Danny, which is still pretty decent standard, but these are top grandmasters.
Everyone would have turned off by now if it was us, mate.
That's
Yeah.
it. But
So these underprepared people, they didn't even look at that
it was
E5 line.
just one line. Let's not put people off, Danny. Now,
Sorry.
It's not, you know. But we got there. We're basically running through everything. We're double checking things as we go. So you know, I mean, I always recommend like.
I mean, that's just to stop you. Yeah, a lot of people say, "Oh, you know, why didn't you look at that E5 line?" But the thing is, you're just looking at the basic ideas. I'm not necessarily, you know, knowing everything about the opening. I'm just saying, look, I looked at this line with Knight BD7, and it looked interesting. You know, I think it's playable. I do think it's up to the reader, the viewer rather, to basically, you know, check a lot of the material, because you can't. I would not play a line like this without checking all the details. So, but you know, I do think you should check some of the details.
I mean, I think that goes for everything. I mean, this is a simple guide to it, so we're trying to give you a very easy way to play.
Sure.
And but I mean, there's so many books have mistakes, DVDs have mistakes and stuff.
Absolutely,
anyway, I mean, they really do.
Yeah. You don't want to beat yourself up just because you made like. I mean, some people, they get so funny if you make a mistake here or there, they get so funny.
Yeah.
And you just think, well, you know, at the end of the day, we're grandmasters, we're human too, we make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because they're all sitting there with their engines or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're saying, well, why is this guy making a mistake? You know, we're not engines, we're human beings. I'm a human being. I'm not an elephant man, I'm a human being.
Thanks for that, Danny.
Sorry, I'm just going
and,
a little bunkers, you know.
Well, fair enough. But I mean, this Knight BD7, just to show it again.
Sure.
This idea, I really like it, because I'm a dragon. I love the dragon myself, and if I can get some funky dragon, I mean, after we just had a look at F4 G6 Queen E2.
Do you want a quick look at Bishop C4?
Yeah, we should do.
Still got time?
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter if we run over a bit, because it's just the sharpest one. But I mean, just to point out, after Knight BD7 Queen E2, I know you were given the Grishchuk idea of H6 here, which looks very logical, but as you say, G6 is...
That would transpose.
It would transpose. Keep it simple.
So you could keep it within the
F4
confines,
and you can just go Bishop G7 here.
Sure.
And that, we had that last line we saw.
We were looking at it. Well, E5 now is very interesting.
E5, and we get this
here.
Position.
What happens if White goes Knight F3 here, or what
Knight F3. I guess we can just castle, can't we? Probably something like this.
What's the engine saying in this position? Sorry.
Okay. After takes Knight H5, Knight F3. Well, Queen A5 again. This kind of thing. So
yeah.
Queen A5, and this is pretty much getting back into the same thing as we just saw.
Very sharp position.
Very sharp. But okay. But we should cover. So that line, double check. But the other line which we are going to look at now is after Knight BD7.
Sure.
Bishop C4, which is a very logical and aggressive move as well, this one. So this move here, and after Bishop C4, what are you giving here? Because this bishop is really dangerously placed. You know, if you ever play E6, I've seen so many games where Bishop takes E6 occurs.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, so what should Black do?
Well, actually, the line I like now is actually a bit like the poison pawn. You play Queen B6.
Right.
Which I think is useful in many positions, because not only are you attacking B2, so you forced him to waste a move defending B2, but you're also now getting ready to play E6, because now any sacrifices on E6 are not going to be as dangerous with the Queen on B6.
Yeah.
So he's not hitting you on Queen directly when he takes with the Knight on E6.
Yeah.
So Bishop B3, E6.
And now E6. So this is the idea of Queen B6. Yeah. You want to play E6 when the bishop comes to C4. Why aren't we going for G6 then? Why aren't we playing this? Why aren't we just... Because I thought this was the idea. Why aren't we doing this move?
That's a good question. I guess you probably can, to be honest.
And this is basically a Dragadorf now. But okay, maybe...
The only thing I would say is there's some slight concern that White would go Queen E2.
Yeah.
And then when you go Bishop G7, is there a Bishop F7? You've got to be careful of. And then Queen C4 check.
Yeah.
It could be a nasty tactic. And if they go King E8, you go Knight E6.
Nasty, yeah. That's winning for White, so maybe answers the question. But okay, so the bishop's on C4. Let's go for Queen B6. Queen B6. And then after this one, Bishop B3, E6, and now Queen D2, it's not so scary if white puts the queen on e2 now. Well, he can't because he loses a piece for a start, and black just gets castled, I guess. So bishop.
Yeah, so black's just going really for simple development. And I mean, that's often what you want. I mean, you know, if you can get through the bishop g5 line unscathed, and you can get a position where you're actually playing chess. So many times I've lost in the bishop g5 line. Well, I've just got mullered on. I think it's probably the best line in a way, in a practical sense for white, because you know, so many games where I don't even get out of the opening. Where it's here in this game, black clearly gets out of the opening. Not necessarily he doesn't necessarily have a better position, but he has a very playable position.
I really like black's next move, which is Danny. What does he play here?
So here he plays knight c5.
The reason I like this, and I know because I played bishop c4 lines as white against the Najdorf for quite some time, and a common idea when that bishop gets to b3, so this is more of a theme, that bishop's still quite dangerous. It's a dangerous attacking piece. Later on with f4, f5 you can open up that one. Bobby Fischer used to do that. With knight c5, let's just get rid of the piece that's attacking, you know, let's get rid of white's dangerous pieces, why not? And after queen e2, now the knight's defended, black did the Grishchuk idea, he's going to push this bishop away, and now this next move, queen c7, with the idea of getting some counterplay of b5, and this is just a typical position. I don't think we need to look at this much more.
I mean, you could argue that black's wasted time with queen b6 to c7, but white has also wasted time with bishop c4 to b3
and queen d2 to e2. You know,
absolutely. So I think, I mean, it seemed to me that black's position. I mean, you might want to check this game at home, but black got a perfectly playable position game. In fact, ended up winning.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is a standard kind of position here. Black castled, and given a chance, we're going to start normal play, b5, bishop b7. You know, this is just your middle game position. So, I mean, let's just have a look at one more thing here, Danny. After knight bd7, so bishop g5, knight bd7, some white players have played a4, and maybe not particularly in this line, because it seems a bit strange that white's mixing up attacking and positional play, but a4 in order to stop b5 is seen a lot. So what, you know, this stops your b5 ideas. So what are the pros and cons of white playing a4, Danny?
Well, sometimes he wants to go a5 and then really clamp the queen side, which is a very useful. Obviously, the con would probably be the fact that later on now, if he castles queen side, he create a lot of weaknesses on this queen side. And
b4 square can be a bit weak.
I mean, I think black got a perfectly playable position in this game. He played e6.
Just normal moves, e6. Again, he could go g6. It's a matter of opinion. It looks to me, what I'm learning from this, that when white plays f4, that's when black goes g6 as a rule. In your notes here.
Maybe,
just to try and, you know,
just to try and change, because then change away from normal. We want to get away from normal parameters. That when they go f4, we're not getting into all these like main lines, which are so theoretically based. So, and your opponent literally, he will come to the ball with bishop d5, prepped up to the eyeballs. You know, intending to smash you off the board within 20 moves. You know, that will be his plan.
So basically, against f4, when f4 is played, go for g6. This is what I'm looking at these top games. But when other moves are played, for example, a4, you know, we can now, a4 is a non-threatening move, we can just go e6, which is one of our main setups. And I mean, this is a bit similar to the last game. White just develops, black develops, and so what? They just get a position here. Bishop here, queen. Why is the queen good on? I see the queen nearly always goes to c7. Is it just it connects the rooks, I guess, Dan, and it's just a good square for the queen. A little bit of pressure, I guess. Nice.
I've no clue, mate.
No, good. Well, that's why we got you here. But in this game,
queen c7 is always a good square for black in the Najdorf. Just like queen e2 is often a good square for white. Full stop. You know, so. I think we pretty much covered everything now. So
I think so, mate. Yeah, I mean, in this game, just one more thing I want to mention. Even with this pawn here, b5 is still playable when you got the rook here, because you can start getting counterplay on the half-open files. I mean, just in lines where white ever plays a4, a5, this is just a good, simple way for black to play. So I think we have covered everything in this sharp line f4. We're keeping it simple. So as a rule, against f4, play g6, go for a dragon. Other systems, you can play e6, but be a little bit careful. So, for example, if bishop c4, e6 here, may well run into this move, which is a very dangerous
So you need
sacrifice.
to know what you're doing against bishop c4, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why Danny's recommending, again, a very simple solution, which is, first of all, attack the pawn, when that
And only
pawn...
then go e6, yeah.
Because now, if bishop e6, black has gained a very important tempo, and this should be just very good for black.
Yeah.
I mean, you just...
Queen b2.
Queen b2, taken up one, why not? Play
Yeah, no, I think we covered everything.
Yep,
So,
alright, cool. Okay, so let's move on to the next opening variation now.